Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gifted Leader Podcast. I am your host, Frank James, and I am so excited for today's episode. You guys have no idea. I have a very, very special guest here who is an Amazon best-selling author. I'm going to introduce him in a minute, but you guys are totally in for a treat today. So I know it's been a while. Life has been lifing, but not in a bad way. There's a lot of things that's been going on, and I can't wait to catch you up. But if this is your first time joining us, thank you so much for listening to the Gifted Leader Podcast. We created this platform to help people become better leaders. And it is my belief that in order to help people to become better leaders, we have to first help them become better people through the pillars of God, family, people, and leadership. If you are returning, welcome back. We do not take your time for granted. We get 24 hours in a day, and you're spending the next 45, 50 minutes with us. So thank you. All right, guys. So like I told you before, we have such a gift to the world here with us today. We have an author here. He is so awesome. His name is Nathan Caldwell. And I want to read this super quick snippet before I really introduce him. It says, Nathan's live presentations and his best-selling book, Empowering Kindness, inspires people to recognize the importance and impact kindness has on leadership. Leading with kindness isn't about being nice. It's about having the empathy to understand what your people need and the strength to help them grow. He is a thought-provoking leader in the leadership. He is a giant, somebody that I admire, and I am so happy that he is here. So please join me in welcoming Nathan Caldwell to the podcast. Nathan, how are you?
Frank, I am excellent because of your positivity. I can't believe that introduction. You're too kind. You're way too kind. And now it seems like we are best friends. So it's fantastic to be able to meet with you. It's fantastic to be a part of this podcast. And also, I appreciate so much the invite to be here to share messages with your audience. So thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to get into how I know you in quotation marks here in a minute, but thank you for answering the call. I always get shocked a little bit when people that I have followed, that I, admire, really say yes. So thanks again for being here. So everybody, the episode is going to go as normal. Today, obviously, we're going to be talking about navigating kindness in leadership. Since we have Nathan here, and the episode is going to go as normal. So first and foremost, let's jump off into some good news for the week. So I know you guys haven't heard from me probably since May, and a lot has changed. I know I took you guys on this roller coaster of a journey with me and my career, but I'm very happy to share that I did land that dream job. I am the director of ride operations at an amusement park here in Texas, and it has dotted every I, crossed every T. My heart is happy. I get to do what I love. I get to impact leaders. I get to train people, coach them, and then ride roller coasters all in the same day. One could argue that I don't really work because I have so much fun doing it, but it is just amazing. And I wanted to share that, and I'll dive more into how we got there in a later episode, but that is certainly the good news that I wanted to share with you guys for this week. Nathan, what about you? What good news would you like to share about your week?
So the good news comes from just some family things going on. We just got to have a guest stay with us, longtime friend. My wife has been friends with her since childhood, and I've been friends with her for years and years too. And it was just a real special moment for our family to be with them and have our kids playing with her kids. It's just one of those special moments in life that we shouldn't take for granted, and we shouldn't allow work to get in the way, but embrace that family time. And I got to share one other piece of good news, because just a week or so ago, my father went through open heart surgery and came through it well. and is recovering well. And so I'm so super thankful for that. It's such a big relief. And so I know your good news was career related. My good news is family and personal related, but sometimes that is the greatest news of all that we can have.
Absolutely. And I love that you shared that about your dad. I know that you were very vulnerable in sharing that, like on LinkedIn, and we were praying for you. My kids, they even asked me because they're in Michigan right now, and we just kind of walk the streets every morning and pick a house to pray for. And when they heard me talking to my wife about you, they were like, "Daddy, can we pray for his dad?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." And they asked me yesterday how your dad was doing, and I was like, "I think he's doing good. I'm going to talk to him tomorrow." And they're like, "You're going to talk to his dad tomorrow?" And I was like, "No, I'm going to talk to him." So they will be very happy to hear that as well. So thank you for sharing that
Well,
with.
I appreciate you so much, keeping him in your prayers and your family prayers. That has meant so much, as we were definitely concerned about it. So thank
Good,
you.
good, good, good. All right, everybody. So let's dive into this episode, navigating kindness in leadership. So, as I told you guys before, Nathan authored a book called Empowering Kindness. First and foremost, if you do not have this book, I want you to pause this episode and I want you to go get it right now. When I tell you guys, it has completely changed the paradigm of how I think about kindness, how I think about kindness in leadership, how I talk about kindness, how I share kindness with others. I mean, it is jam packed with so many good nuggets, so many real life examples of this is how you do it. And one of the things that you guys know about me, when I write, I believe a lot of times we just give people a lot of information and we do not show them how to apply it. So one of the things that I love best about this book, Empowering Kindness, is it is real life. Like, this is how you put this into action. So I want to start with Nathan by asking, empowering kindness, such a broad yet very straightforward topic to talk about in leadership. How did you come up with this topic and then get so passionate about sharing it by way of literature?
Well, I had been speaking on company culture. One of the roles that I had at a really giant software company was to be the culture evangelist for that company. And as they were going through multiple acquisitions, I was in charge of making sure that as employees came in or as a new company was acquired, they were all brought into the conversation on company culture. And so, as I was speaking regularly and ongoing for a couple of years, I started to recognize that I was compiling a whole ton of content that centered around leadership, that centered around being a leader, even if you don't have a quote unquote leadership title. So, you may not be a supervisor, you may not be a manager, you may not be the executive. However, we're all in a circle of influence. There are all people around us, and we all have the opportunity to be a leader. In any conversation, we can be the leader of positivity. We can be the one who leads by example. We can be the one who helps pick up the slack. We can be the one who pours into another individual to help build them up. We can be vulnerable, as you mentioned that word earlier, to share mistakes we've made and how we've bounced back from them or got back up on our feet. We can even be vulnerable to say, I don't know. And that's okay. Let's work through this together. And so we all have an opportunity to lead. And what I found was, as I was compiling this boatload of thought leadership content and helping to train other employees to see a better way, I started to ask myself, well, what's the one piece, the one needle, the one thread that goes through all of these things? And I started to recognize that it was the idea of kindness, and not in the nice way of like, oh, you go first. No, no, I don't mind. I'll just use a rock for a pillow, or, sleep on the ground, and you can have my bed. That it's the idea of recognizing needs in others and using our strength to fulfill their needs. And a lot of times you might think too, well, fulfilling needs in others, that's very self-sacrificial, and I'm gonna run out of energy at some point. I can't just keep pouring into others. But the idea is not that you just continuously pour into others, and some people would use the word enable.
Yep.
We aren't just enabling people to stay within their need. It is that you are enabling people to be able to stand on their own,
Yeah.
that you would equip them. That's true leadership, is
Yeah.
to challenge people to stand up on their own, but to give them the path or the information or the understanding or the tools to be able to get there. So it's very much because I've seen poor leadership where they walk into a room and they say, look, this person's not performing. The problem is them. My first question would be, well, what have you done to equip them?
Yeah.
What have you done to train them? Have you even shared your expectations? What's in school? I used to be a teacher, and we would use a rubric, especially for performing arts, and say, this is what good looks like. And ask them, have you shown that person who is not performing up to your standards? Have you shown them what your standards are? Have you explained to them what good looks like? Because that's a really unfair position to put somebody in. If you just walk in and say, look, they aren't performing, and you ask that person, well, has your supervisor, has your manager, has your leader shown you what's expected of them? Well, no, they never told me. And so you leave people to fail. And that is not what it's about. That's where kindness steps in. How do you grow people? How do you equip them to be able to stand on their own? And a lot of it has to do with verbalizing, showing, demonstrating the expectations that you have for them in the first place, and then equipping them to fulfill that.
I love that you just shared that for several reasons. The first one is I'm not going to give everything away in this book because I need you guys to go buy it. But in one of the chapters in the book, you wrote communication is a gift treated like one. And when I read that, and in the very small, like in the grand scheme of things, but in the small details of things, a lot of the things that go awry, I feel, a lot of the things that go awry in leadership, whether it's performance expectations or whatever, is simply because we did not communicate properly what the expectation is. That's why one of the things that I talk about all the time, and some people had it, they struggled in the beginning when I did this with them. I would have this meeting, I would say, this is the goal, this is how we're going to get there. And I would stop and I would ask every single person on my leadership team, what is it that you understand I am asking of you? And at first it was met with a lot of, I'm not a child, I'm not an idiot, Frank. Like I heard what you said. And it's like, yes, it is totally possible for you to hear me and not understand me. And that's why I want to make it a level playing field. So if you can explain back to me what it is that I'm asking of you, then that does two things. Number one, it empowers you to do the right thing and for you to be totally aware of what you need. And number two, it gives me the autonomy to now hold you accountable. You were able to explain to me, hey, you want me to do A, B, C, D, and E, and you want me to do it this way. And accountability is a part of kindness. You know, I love it that it says that not in being nice. One of the things that I learned from another great leader, Brene Brown, she said, clear is kind, unclear is unkind. And of course, when I first heard that, I was like, what in the world is she talking about? But it makes so much sense that if you are going to have this persona or have this idea that you are being kind to people, you need to be clear. You need to communicate expectations clearly. And also you need to be able to know that they understand where we're at. Sometimes we get in buses and they're taking a route, and if the bus makes a wrong turn or a different turn, we begin to ask questions like, hey, what's going on here in this? Because the communication of where we're going just wasn't clear. So I love that you said that. And I think you're right. It starts with the leader. It has to start from the top, because if we are going to be the holder of these standards, and if we're going to be the kind police, it has to start with us, right? So I want to go back really quick. How do you, since most people would define kindness as being nice, holding the door, sleeping on the rock, how do you define kindness in leadership?
Well, there's several things that I would use, but I always start with empathy. That empathy is the vision to see a need in others. Kindness is the strength it takes to fulfill that need in others. And it takes bravery, it takes knowledge, it takes experience, and it takes vulnerability. And so there's this element where a leader could see, hey, this person needs help, but not know what to do about it. And so that's where kindness comes in, is to say, well, what can I do to help this person become equipped for this? And to go off of the highlight that you were just sharing about the communication as a gift, treat it like one. That's all in the perspective and mentality of the person who's communicating to the person who's about to receive the message. And I love so much that you say that you pause and you ask people to say, well, what did you understand about this? But we can even take a step further back as leaders. And when I talk about it, communication being a gift, like I literally mean like a Christmas gift or a birthday gift. And sometimes we, as gift givers, are really bad at it. That we think, oh, I'm going to get this thing for my friend because I like it so much and they should like it too. Have you ever watched a movie with somebody who has that mentality, where instead of them watching the movie, they're watching you and being like, you should be reacting. You should be laughing at this. Oh, do you like it? And you're just like, calm down. It's okay, but it's not exactly my jam.
Yeah.
Well, that's communication too. We could go out and say, ooh, I really like this gift. I'm going to give it to this person, and think that it is 100% perfect based on our personal likes and preferences. And that is not effective communication. Effective communication is knowing that individual personally, having a relationship with them, and understanding how to communicate effectively. What motivates them? Do they need a rousing locker room speech like Kurt Russell gives in the movie Miracle, where he's like, I want you to be a hockey player? Or do they need somebody to comfort them? Are they dealing with a struggle that they need somebody there to say, it's okay, we're going to pick up the slack. I understand that you're going through something right now. Knowing the individual you're communicating to and buying the gift, communicating to them in a way that they would prefer, is the best way to do it. And that doesn't mean that you just like bend over backwards and you can never talk to people. No. But there is that beautiful element, that top tier leader skill of reading the room and communicating effectively in the way that the audience, the receiver, is going to take in that message best of all. And then you said it best too, then you check on them, follow up. Did you understand it? Do you have any following questions? And the next layer is also it's when you think about giving the gift over to them, the communication over to them, you also have to recognize that effective leaders know that they are also handing the baton of power over to that individual. So that individual needs to be equipped with knowing what is actually required of them verbatim and where do they have freedom to execute. And so when you're talking about rides, man, oh man, the safety side of it, there's no wavering from that.
Right.
Absolutely not. They have to do their checks.
Yes.
Like they need that all clear and it has to follow protocol. However, you tell them, here's your freedom. You can do it with a smile on your face. You can be above and beyond by being friendly to these guests, by showing them warmth. You are the host. Think of this as your house, and these are your guests coming into your place. How do you want to treat them? How do you want them to feel?
You know, this is so powerful on so many levels. Number one, my wife and I, up until 6 years ago, and we've been married for 11 years now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It wasn't until 6 years ago that she finally told me, babe, I appreciate every gift that you give me. I appreciate you thinking of me. I appreciate you wanting me to have these things. But when you buy something for me, I would prefer for now, until you learn a little bit better, I would prefer if you ask me what I wanted. And so my immediate
Love
initial
it.
reaction was, wait, what? I've been buying you gifts. Are you saying like you didn't like anything? And she was like, I don't want that to overshadow what I am trying to communicate to you. It's not that I didn't like these things, but like you said, it just wasn't her jam. And I'm like, okay, so what do you want? And she was like, well, I don't want you to just ask me right here. When we're out, let me show you things that I like. And what I found was I was getting things that I wanted her to enjoy. And if we're being honest, for selfish reasons, I thought she would look good in it. I thought she would smell good in it, or I thought it would look flat, for so many reasons. I purchased them with that in mind, but I was forgetting that the most important thing is the person that is receiving this gift, it needs to be something that they want, right? So that blew my mind when she brought that conversation to me, because I'm like, all of these years, and even when I was picking up the gifts, it was never, oh, I think she would like this. It was, oh, this is pretty. Oh, this is nice. And as I began to think about that, we do that in leadership. We just automatically assume that the people that are in our brigade, that we automatically know. And I want to share with leaders today, it is okay to not know. It's actually more powerful and more impactful to not know and then do the research to find out. One of the things that I talk about very, very, very often when I'm in a group of leaders, every person alive has a leadership formula of communication. And I'm not talking about of giving it, I'm talking about receiving it. And when you are talking to Frank, you have to put in Frank's formula of receiving communication, or it's not going to land. And when I tell people that, they like, well, I want to give the same message across the board. You can give the same message, but a thought leader and a servant leader understands that you may have to deliver it differently, because you're right. Sometimes maybe I need that speech. Maybe I need that keep going, don't give up, you can do this. Or maybe I need that, hey, what do you need from me? What do you need from me in this moment? Can I buy you something? Do you just want another thing that I do when I'm talking to my wife, because I am the leader of my home, I'll ask her, hey, babe, are you venting right now? Do you want my input? Do you want me to respond? Tell me what you need from me in this moment. And I have to ask those questions less and less now because I'm beginning to learn. But I took out that time to, as a leader, and say, this is an area where I thought I was doing well, but I wasn't. So the fact that you brought up that we buy a lot of gifts and we're not the greatest at it, that is so, so, so true. And I want leaders to hear and understand it's okay. It's okay if you're not good at it today. Let's make a pledge and a decision that beginning today, we're going to do it differently. It may be uncomfortable for you as a leader, but I think it's so dynamic to understand you want that communication, that information, that impartation to land. And if you do not put it in the right formula, it is not going to land. So I love that you talked about that. And even, talking about right operations, the second part of why this was so powerful right now, you guys know I'm into amusement parks. I've been in it for 17, 18 years. At this point, at the current place that I'm at, my crew members are called ride operators. I went and I talked to my boss and I told him, hey, I want to change the name of our crew members. And he's like, what? I said, I want to change it from ride operators to ride host. And he was like, ride host? Like, where did that come from? I said, yeah, because if you think about it, they really are hosts. The ride is designed to do what the ride does. When you press go, this ride is going to move or it's going to not move, or, it's going to do what it does. The experience of that ride comes from how they get treated from the moment they enter this park to the moment they get off this train. And I want them to feel like guests. If we call our guests, we need to have a host. And he was just like, I have never even considered that. We can do it. It'll just take me some time. But that was so powerful that he listened in that moment. It wasn't a lot. It was just like hey, explain it to me. So I love that you even shared that too. Another thing you talked about in the book, and this was probably one of my favorite chapters. You were talking about there's a reason why we go to Disney. Because let's think about it. If you are an amusement park enthusiast in any stretch of the imagination, and even if you're not, you know what Disney is. You've heard about it. You've been there. You've desired to go there. You're saving to go there. You know about Disney. And it's because their reputation is so high. Their standards of kindness in leadership are so high. So you talked about in this chapter that it wasn't necessarily about the rides per se, it was about how we felt. So can you talk to us a little bit more about how showing up with kindness and how executing kindness really changes the experience that we have in leadership?
Absolutely. So my background when it comes to theme parks or the amusement industry is that was my first job, really. So right out of high school, I began working for a vacation resort, and I was on the entertainment team. I was the entertainment manager, and I was on stage performing, singing, dancing, playing campfire sing-alongs, doing the theme song to Bradley Bear to get him to come out and play with us and all that sort of stuff, calling bingo, hosting top 40s band night, emceeing, the whole works. And I'm a giant theme park fan. From childhood, my great memories are of spending time with family at different theme parks. And it was a rare occasion, but it was a loved occasion.
Yeah.
And so when I became an adult and I'm working and I have some income, I'm like, our family is a theme park family. Like when we, the first Christmas we had with my son, I was like, we're kicking it off by going to Dollywood and experiencing Christmas in the Smokies. And that's how we're going to kick off the Christmas season. We've had Disney annual passes. We've had Busch Gardens and SeaWorld annual passes, Legoland passes. I've been to so many Six Flags theme parks as well, Paramount theme parks. I grew up going to Canada's Wonderland. And so, yeah, the chapter's titled Why We Go to Disney in the book, but really it is what you're talking about. It's capturing that essence of what they're known for. And if you pay attention in that chapter, the point I make is that you don't have to have the Disney budget to give the magical experiences. What you have to have is an eye for customer service and then applying kindness in those special moments. And so it's the difference between a cast member or an employee saying, giving instruction to a guest versus checking on them how their day is going. Are you enjoying it? You know, it is that idea of what you're talking about, rather than just a ride operator, an actual host.
Yeah.
It's what I was talking about earlier in the answer to one of the other questions, where you recognize it like they're coming into my home. I must welcome them as a guest. You said it too. Customers, they aren't called customers, they're called guests, because we're welcoming them in and we want to give them an excellent experience. And right now, we need that more than ever. Moms and dads, grandparents, they need a place to take kids, or even just if you don't even have kids, we need a bit of an escape. And it's not necessarily an escape where it's like, oh, we don't want to think about our problems. Let's go to a theme park and enjoy the day. It's also, we need to believe again in the kindness of humans. And oftentimes we get that when we go to a theme park.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird. Like if I were to go get gas at the gas station, it's almost awkward to say hello to people, you know, because they're like, what do you want?
Yeah.
Bit of skepticism out there on the street or out in the real world. But when we go to a theme park, we know we can say hello to anyone. We can chat it up with people in line. Where are you from? Oh, how many kids do you have? We become fast friends. It's so funny. I think it's hilarious too, how we'll be in line. We'll find out like, oh, you're from this town? I grew up in that town, and we become friends. However, if we were at the gas station, both in that town, you would never say like, oh, Frank, are you from this town? I'm from this town. It's like, yeah, you're a weirdo. I live here. You live. Why are you talking to me? So it's that removing of feeling encumbered by keeping people at a distance. That's the escape. Going to a theme park, you get that opportunity to just enjoy yourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, that is so, that I believe people ask me all the time, and for whatever reason, I struggled trying to explain it in a way that people would understand. They would ask me, Frank, why do you love amusement parks so much? Like, what is it about an amusement park? And I always share with them, I don't care what kind of day I am having. The sound of a roller coaster, the sound of water at a water ride, the sound of a flat ride spinning, the sound of a child screaming and having fun, it warms my heart in a way that I just can't explain. And that does not mean that working or going there, we are absent of difficult or tough days, because they happen. You know, this is life. Hard things come, we deal with them, we grow from them, we move on. So it's not this this facade that this is the happiest place and nothing goes wrong here. But when I am there, it evokes an emotion out of me that just makes me feel love. I just feel love when I'm at an amusement park, and I strive to share that with every single person I encounter. And sometimes I have those gas station moments with people at amusement parks. They're out, hey, how are you doing? Can I walk you over here? And they're looking at me like, you're going to walk us up? Absolutely. You look like you weren't having the best day. I want to know how I can make your day better. So I'm going to take you, I'm going to escort you myself up to this ride, and I'm going to ride it with you if that's what you desire. I'm going to do whatever it takes to have this moment with you, because I want you to feel what I feel every single day. And again, sometimes it's just like, all right. And, and one of my leaders just told me, we had a meeting on Thursday. Frank, one of the things that I like about you most is you are almost requiring for us to love this thing as much as you do. And you're so positive and your energy is so infectious that I find myself like really falling in love with this industry. I've never looked at it like this. To me, it was just a job. And even that, it took my breath away, because I was like, you get it. You truly get it. I love being here. And if you're on my team and we work together, I want you to love being here too, right? So I just think this whole idea about kindness and leadership and navigating it, it is so paramount in anything that you do. Now, granted, Nathan has an amusement park background, which I love, and I have an amusement park background, which is amazing, but this is not specific to amusement parks. You can take away the rides completely. It is not specific to that. It is specific to the impact that you make in leadership. What were you going to say, Nathan?
Yeah, just you're absolutely right. And I love to use theme parks, though, as an example, because it's such a tangible example of a place where excellent customer service is just so apparently needed. Like, you can't have a theme park without excellent customer service.
Yeah.
You could have a call center without excellent customer service. People wait online, on the phone to get their question answered, or they'll go and check the FAQs on a website, things like that. But if you don't have excellent customer service at a theme park, it's not a theme park.
Hang
Like,
it up.
it is people don't want to go, and that's the end of it. Like, that's where it lives and breathes.
Yeah.
And so that's why I use them often as an example, because it's so tangible. But you're absolutely right. This message is not just for theme parks. This message is all about leadership. It's all about, if you want to be a great leader, you need to focus on kindness, because you are not a leader without people, and you will not have people follow you if you don't treat them well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen horrible leaders that are just the type that push people out of their way for themselves to excel or move up.
Yeah.
But a true leader is somebody where you're going to say, like, wow, why do the people on that team keep getting promoted? Or it seems like that team is always excelling when it comes to their projects, their accomplishments. Or I keep hearing the names of those team members as those who are excelling. Because oftentimes the role of a leader is also to promote them, not just in role or title, but promote them as successful individuals across the company, to tell across the company, hey, I've got a great success story for you, a person on my team. This is how they went above and beyond. This is what they accomplished. I'm so proud of them because of this. It's sharing the credit that is deserved by the people who put in the work for it.
Yeah.
And oftentimes there's leaders who want to steal that from them. Allow their team to get it 90% done, and then say, oh, I'll take it from here, as if they're doing them a favor, and then laying claim to being, oh, I'm so great because I finished this off for them. That's
Not leadership at all.
For your team.
Yeah.
There's no coach in sports history who can go into the press conference and say, well, it was all because of me. Like they have to give credit to their players.
Absolutely.
They have to celebrate their stars.
Yeah. So really quick, Nathan, before we get to the end of the episode, what advice do you have and how do we help a leader or a company or a team that has not considered kindness in leadership, does not know how and or where to start with kindness in leadership? What advice do you have for them? How do you help them enact this movement? What do you say to them?
Well, the very first thing is for the person who wants to enact this movement is to understand the power that it has, because you're going to get skeptics. I talk about that in my book. You're going to have naysayers. You're going to come into the room and you're going to say, you know what we need more of? Kindness. And people are going to say, yeah, okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have people who don't believe it. So first, you need to know the power of kindness. In my book, I share a whole ton of medical studies that show it is the best way, mental health studies that show it is the absolutely best way to what? Improve the capabilities and performance of people in general. And so things like a health study, there was a group of Harvard students, they were split up. Half of them watched some boring video, half of them watched a video of Mother Teresa taking care of the sick and dying. What they found the difference was, the ones who viewed Mother Teresa, was that their immune system levels were boosted and remained elevated for a full hour afterwards. It has a physical effect on us, a positive physical effect on us. Also, there's another study that was done where they took a group of people into a volunteering experience. And this is a big deal when it comes to kindness, is recognizing that you would do for others without expecting something in return, which is entirely a leader's mindset when they think of equipping their employees. Because oftentimes, if you think, oh, well, if I equip my employees, if I give them training, if I build them up, then they're going to leave me. Yeah. And you should celebrate that. Like, good job. You've done the work of a leader to build somebody up. And guess what? You shouldn't be fearful of that, because you should have confidence in yourself to bring somebody else new in and do that for them, pour into them, equip them to stand on their own. And so this idea of doing volunteer work where you do something good for somebody without expecting anything in return, the study showed that 100% of individuals experienced a significant physiological change within themselves. One of the things was 13% of those people experienced less aches and pains. Like, it's just crazy that kindness, doing for others, is actually miraculous. People experience less depression. They experience a warm sensation, is how some people describe it. You know what that is? That's your heart working.
Yeah.
It's the scene in The Grinch where the heart grows 3 sizes that day. You're like, oh, I didn't know I was capable of such good. And so the first step is recognize the power of kindness. The second step is to recognize what leaders are in the business of. Leaders are in the business of equipping people, of leading people. And so you must recognize that pouring into others, equipping them, training them, building them up, giving them skills, giving them experience as well. One of the greatest ways to then get your team involved in kindness is to say, come do it with me.
Yeah.
Invite them along. Don't just walk into the room. You may recognize the power of kindness. You may recognize that it's a need. Let's go for it. But then it doesn't stop with just you instructing your staff. Hey, y'all, let's be more kind out there. Invite them along. Clearly define what kindness means within your organization. We
Mhm.
talked about communication earlier, that there is a very important distinction that needs to be made to say, this is what our standards are. You must meet these standards. Here's where you have freedom to go above and beyond. And we
Yeah.
do want to see you going above and beyond. That's where kindness kicks in. Show them how they can be capable of delivering it as well by walking alongside them, demonstrate it for them, or pair them up with people who are already demonstrating. Hey, I want you to pay attention to the way Frank communicates with guests when they enter the queue for the ride. Take note of what he's doing to make them feel welcome so that they would experience that. And then you give them the responsibility to execute on it. And part of giving them the responsibility to execute on it, this is so important. You need, if somebody is taking notes on this podcast, on this interview, write these 3 words down. If you expect to have any success in implementing kindness in your organization, you need to give your people the authority, the autonomy, and the ability to be kind. That means that when they're in a situation and they see the need for kindness in that situation, they don't have to get on the walkie-talkie and say, hey, I got a guest over here, or I have a customer over here, or I have a teammate over here. They're experiencing this problem. I don't know what to do about it, or I have an idea of what to do about it. Am I allowed? No. Give them the authority, autonomy, and ability to spring into action. Now, that means that you do set up some guardrails, right? You aren't going to give every employee the authority, ability, and autonomy to just say, hey, family, hey there, guests, your whole family is free today. Plus,
Right.
I'm throwing in annual passes. Plus, I'm giving you my employee discount on all the food. Like, let them know.
Of
That's
course.
why it's the authority, autonomy, and ability. You show them. Here are the areas that you can operate on your own. You don't even need to check in with us. You can spring into action. And that's vitally important too in business. Like that's vitally important when you're a customer facing employee servicing a guest, but it's also vitally important when you have a chain of command within an organization where you have managers who need to be able to say something to an employee like, hey, no problem, come in late today, take your dad to that doctor's appointment, we've got you covered, versus I don't know if you can come in late today, let me check with my supervisor or my manager. Like, give people that authority, autonomy, and ability to be kind.
I mean, that, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was so incredibly powerful for me. And I wrote this stuff down. And I really hope, guys, if you are listening, I know what it can sound like. I know this kindness and leadership thing can sound cheesy and corny, and I know it can sound like, what are y'all talking about, guys? But I promise you, and this is from lived experience, if you tap into the dynamics of kindness and leadership, it will truly be a paradigm shift in how you function as a leader and also the culture of your company. Just give it a try. Give it a try. I promise you the results, if you execute it the right way, if you follow those 3 steps, it is going to be amazing for your company. And watch how many lives you change. All right. Before we wrap up, I want to open the floor. Nathan, thank you so much for being here today. I have thoroughly enjoyed everything that you shared, both through the book and through our conversation. And I want you to tell people, how can they find you? How, what? And before you do that, I wanted to share with you something, and Nathan doesn't know this. This is my first time telling him this. And every year, my wife and I do a vision board in December for the next year. In 2021, the pandemic is kind of still happening, but towards the end of like things are starting to settle down from the pandemic, I wrote something on my vision board and I'm about to read it to you. And that is around the first time that I started truly thinking about kindness and leadership. Months later, I found your book. I had wrote my book, I found your book, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy gets it. And then I found something else about you, which you'll find out after I read this. So this what was on my vision board and that I wrote in December of 2021. In the next 5 years, I will travel the world after writing my book and do leadership intensive workshops at amusement parks on the gift of leadership. And I just, again, had no idea really who you were. And then I see you doing it because I saw the highlight, like you were at Dollywood. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is somebody that is literally walking and talking and living the dream that I wrote in 2021. We haven't met. We've met now. And I mean, it's just so, I was going to say it's so crazy, but it's so God. This was so God ordained. And I'm so grateful that you came on. So I just wanted to share that with you because I thought it was so powerful for you to reach out and me to be like, because I told my wife, I was like, babe, Nathan Caldwell just inboxed me because I already had your book. And she was like, did you respond? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Hey, because I've been such a fan. So again, thank you for being here. But go ahead and share with the world what's next for you. How do they reach out to you? How can they find you? And what else you want to share?
Well, I appreciate so much that you find inspiration in things I talk about. And thank you. Thank you for your positivity. Thank you for, you may not know this, but what you just shared is really encouraging to me to keep going on because it's hard work going out there and presenting and really being vulnerable about my experiences to hopefully inspire and equip and admonish other people to also be vulnerable and push forward in this idea of investing in others and utilizing kindness to be able to do that. And so I really appreciate that you are so excited on this topic. I wish you the absolute best in your dream, your vision board of accomplishing this. And so thank you very much for being so positive toward me. That means a great deal. But I do need to say this. I know you aren't supposed to throw a butt in, but I'm going to throw a butt in because you should not at all have been like, ooh, it's Nathan Caldwell. I'm just a normal guy. And no one should be like, wow, it's Nathan. Like, not at all. Anybody can inbox message me. I'm very active on LinkedIn. My email, in fact, is just nathan@empoweringkindness.com. I invite anybody to send me a message at any time. And you do not have to feel at all intimidated. And so I even feel embarrassed having to say that. But, based on your positive, exciting reaction, I just wanted to clear that up. But you asked too how people could possibly engage with me or what I would ask them to do. So yeah, reach out to me. I am out there going around speaking at different organizations. I speak at leadership conferences and events. So anytime you are looking to bring a speaker in to share an impactful message, to just energize your teams as well, I'm very much open to that. I have several speaking opportunities already booked in the next few months, but always looking to add more, always looking to bring this message to more audiences and really try to encourage as many people as possible to step into what they're meant to be. Now, you mentioned faith. I too have a deep faith. And when I look at all of those medical studies about kindness, it just leads me to believe that we are designed to be kind. And if we deny that of ourselves, we end up being like Ebenezer Scrooge,
Yeah.
very empty inside, very lonely. And it is when we embrace it that we actually begin to understand our full potential as human beings. And so I would love to be invited to speak at any organization, at any event. My website is empoweringkindness.com. My email is nathan@empoweringkindness.com. My book is available on Amazon. And so I love to speak at events, and I also love to coach groups. And so if you have, and I know this is the case in so many theme parks, especially where you have a high employee turnover. And so oftentimes the people that you're needing to promote into supervisor roles really have just been there the longest. They've only been there for a season, and they are the most seasoned employees, and you're putting them in charge of others. Well, you probably recognize too that the amount of experience they gain in a season does not necessarily equate to the leadership maturity that they actually need when they're stepping into that role of needing to lead others or lead a team. And so I love to do coaching groups where I equip young leaders to understand multiple 7 or 8 different principles of leadership that goes just beyond, it goes well beyond kindness, and it jumps into several different topics in order to help them set goals, attain goals, understand positive behavior, all of those things that go into equipping them to become better leaders and really beat the calendar. Give them the leadership maturity that they would normally get in multiple seasons, but really shrink it down because it's going to be so focused, and you don't have to hope or wait for situations to arise in order to gain maturity. It's packed into the coaching group. And so I would love to engage with more parks, more places that have a customer service focus, that have young leaders that need to be equipped as well.
Thank you so much, Nathan, for sharing all of that with us. Guys, on this episode, like we do in every episode, I will have Nathan's information linked in the show notes below. I'll have his email address. I'll have the link to his book. It'll all be in the show notes. So if you guys have any questions, reach out to him directly. I'll have all of his information there. And he is very, very active on LinkedIn. That's where we connected. So if you are listening to this clip on LinkedIn or from anything from there, just go give him a follow, reach out, give him a shout out, because he's such an awesome person. And I'm grateful that he was here. So thanks again for coming on the show. And like we say on this episode and every episode, now go and be gifted.